Happy Monday as we march towards this last week before Holy Week. Obviously, a different time for all of us right now, and I recognize that as we read through this Lent study. Obviously, you and I did not have in mind COVID-19 and all the new realities that would bring to us. I am grateful to have this time daily to be able to talk with you in this way and at least study the scriptures together. And I'm grateful that we had set it up to do that before we were aware of exactly what we would be doing. This text today obviously is one of those hard ones. I'm grateful for how N.T. Wright starts his description when he says, when he talks about seeing this collection of political cartoons from 200 years ago and not really understanding what was going on. That feels like what happens when we read this text and we're trying to figure out who is who and what is Jesus saying is going to happen, and was that in his time or should that be something we're looking for in our time? And at the heart, Wright says at all of this is in verse 2 of Matthew 24, which you don't read in Wright's section, but you can go back and look at it, is Jesus saying that the temple will be destroyed. And Jesus saying that the temple is going to be destroyed is really significant because that actually happened around the year AD 70. So in the year 70 is when the temple was actually destroyed. But Jesus also references in the Gospels, right, that the temple will be destroyed in 3 days. He will raise it up again. So we also get the idea that the temple is somehow connected with Jesus. And that's what Wright talks about then on page 96. He says he wasn't just a spectator, a voice warning of danger. He was the one around whom Israel's God was reordering his people. So that in Jesus is these prophecies of Daniel about the Son of Man coming true. In fact, the Son of Man coming, often we think about it as the Son of Man will return. He will come back. But what Wright does is reorients it, and he says that actually this is the coming of the Son of Man in vindication, or in other words, in his ascension into glory. And so N.T. Wright wants to reorient us to understand that a lot of these prophecies are actually have come true in Jesus, in his death, resurrection, and ascension. And yet at the same time, there is a sense that this passage is not completely done, and that there are these kind of, it's like a rock was thrown into a pond and the circles keep going out. And we live in a time of unsurety, and we also live in a time where we know that Jesus is not done with his work and that indeed he will return to earth. Just how we understand how that will happen and passages like this are still a little bit of a mystery. So I welcome you this Lent to not try to figure out who's who and what's what necessarily in these passages, but instead to trust that God holds us in the midst of the mystery and that God is the one whom we can always run to. God bless you today.